A little better. Maybe that's a little bit better. Usually, when I sit in this spot, it's a little more well lit. But isn't that a contrast to the videos that I do during the day when the sun or a light is always shining in just such a way that it looks like there's light shining around me? We're all shadow and light, see? You ever have those moments when you have a vision that you've had before and it's like having a dream that you had before? Except for you recognize the difference, obviously, because you were dreaming in one and awake in the other and stuff like that. That's just listening to some of the readers that I like listening to, especially the soft, sweet ones. I don't focus too much on karmic stuff, just on like what good stuff is happening, and sometimes they throw in events that are going on with karmic stuff, but not much. And that's what I like. Like we focus on us and things that make us grateful in the world. Anyways, one of them did a video, and it brought a vision back into my mind that I remember. I remember having it multiple times over the last couple of years, but it really came in October. And what's funny? There's multiple bits to the vision. That's the thing. It's like different timelines of things, variables, things that happen. I see patterns and cycles and things like that. And with everything going on between like my family and my DM's family and stuff like that, my Cabbit, I could see that there were going to be some moments that I needed to be very self-reliant. That any number of things could happen with my family, my stability, my things like that, which there really never really was stability. There was money, but there was not really stability. And like, even of that, like I knew I couldn't rely on that financial stability either. Like even like there was no place to really have, how do I put it? So our therapist one time said that like my DM had a way of getting himself into various messes that made it so that for me it was like trying to walk on quicksand. There was like always earthquakes, and I'm like trying to get to him and get him over to the dry land and get us going, and like, but then there'd be like another earthquake, and then there'd be quicksand. And you know what? I realized that was happening with my family too, right? And the same thing on his end. It was all kind of going on that way. But I realized things were going to get more unstable. I also saw bigger, wider things economically, that many of them have been happening. I've been torn about whether or not to do videos that talk about economic or political things. So far, I'm still keeping this channel just mostly to the metaphysical and stuff like that. But I saw a number of things that I predicted years and years ago. Even my DM reminded me of some things that I predicted that I was worried about happening. And I was just like, I prepared for them in the way that like you would prepare for an earthquake, right? Have earthquake kit, right? I learned survival skills and homesteading skills, and I made that plan for us that was like our homestead and things like that, as my DM calls it, my 100-acre woods, right? Because it was a good plan, whether I was right or I was wrong. You know what I mean? If I was wrong and things stayed stable and sturdy in the economy, then we were like, fuck yeah, we got our own homestead. How great is that? And if things went or started over, or as a lot of people are talking about the great reset energy and stuff, like we would have a place where we could grow our own food, where we could safely protect ourselves, where we weren't like up and down with the more volatile pendulum swinging of like more populated areas and things like that. So I learned a lot of things, and I saw a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things happen that have come to fruition. And then there was interactions that I had with my DM over the last couple of years of separation, where I just saw him just slowly crumble and just have like all of the energy just drained out of him in every way. I mean, financially, emotionally, all those things. until he had, like, it's funny to say, till he had no fight in him, which isn't something I would normally want in somebody, but he's got a lot of Aries placements. And, like, that's part of who he is. He's a feisty mofo, as he would probably say. And part of his ability to do great things for himself and for his kids and things like that is that feistiness, you know? And I'd only ever seen that in him, like, once before. And it's when I met him, when he was still with his first wife. And, like, he was trying to get it back. He was young, though. He was 23 at that time. And, like, he still had quite a lot of fight in him. It's kind of funny, especially being a Cancer, like a lover and a fighter. And then I saw everything going on around me, like in my situation, my own family turning against me. And I saw, like, I already knew that his family was not for him, and we're actively, like, working to make his situation worse. And I just saw, like, you know what's funny? At first, like, a long time ago, the visions were that, like, something bad would happen. But the more consistent and more, like, the timelines that feel real and more predictable are more that there would come a point in time when my DM was going to realize. And it's, I don't know, it's weird because I'm so forward in the vision that it's like, in my mind, we're already talking about it with a little bit of humor, like, after all the emotional shit has happened. So, like, but the vision is of that moment when he realizes that he's been tricked, and not by me, that it was actually part of the trick, that they tricked him into thinking that I was trying to trick him. And a lot of truths would be revealed, stitch by stitch, as he would say, that would really make his heart crumble even more. Like, even more than being used and drained and not accepted and not having time or space to himself, disconnected from his kids and stuff. Like, there would come that point in time when it would be revealed that lots of things were done to him, that they saw him as gullible, like they, like, take his loyalty for granted, take all his efforts, you know, like, I've had many feelings about many things about the separation and stuff, and about his choices and my choices and stuff, but where I've always come back naturally when I trust myself and I trust Spirit and I trust him is that he genuinely, well, one, he didn't mean to end up in a relationship. We both already clarified that. But when it became a relationship with the karmic, he put his best into it in ways that he knows he should have done when we were together for 14 and a half years, you know? And he even did several things for me that I had asked for, including being honest with me and being okay with changing his mind with me, because he's had a hard time with that, and trusting me to take care of my own feelings I might have about things that he might do as the natural person that he is, which is, at least has been, a little bit of a player, and not, and like, in an emotional way, which for me it's almost worse than the other way around, but I get why he's like that. And the biggest thing for me has always been that I've just wanted him to be himself, you know, because, like, that for me is my thing. I want somebody to accept me for who I am. I had to learn to become more of who I was. And, you know, what's funny is I made the effort to work on myself and to become more myself. I noticed that did create a disconnect, especially with the people, like my family, people like that. Like, it showed me that in order to become more myself, to fit more in line with my morals and my spirituality and who I am just as a natural, amazing person, that there was likely, at least for a time, going to be a rift with my family and with some members of my community and stuff like that, you know? And I kept going, like, the vision would go back and forth between those two. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit here and just watch it all fall apart and, like, try to like grab plates and prevent things from falling from a whole lot of people that are holding things up on my silence and on my giving nature and my loyalty. Like all the things that I could look at my DM and be like, these are strengths when it's us, but it is a flaw when it is being used for people who are doing that. I was doing that same stuff. And the title of this video, like why I did that, what I mean is like why I chose to do my healing in the way that I did. Which, for those of you following along, since at least was it just after the Wickedly Divine Feminine tour, there was a number of things that I did to allow myself to heal, including talking about a large part of my story that includes my family's stories and my DM stories and some of his family stories and things like that. Because when I had these visions of like my DM, I can still see the look on his face as like I have seen this look on his face. In fact, I saw it right before I offered him the very first key to the first apartment that we had. And I mean, this man can be the biggest asshole ever, but he is also the biggest sweetheart I've ever fucking known. Most giving person. Like that's, we both have the problem being overly giving, right? And I've seen this look on his face before, like that point when you know that you have given absolutely all of the best of you that you had at the moment. Maybe you later see that you could have done better in different ways, but in those moments you did the best that you knew how. You gave the best that you have, and to find out that somebody like not only like freshly hurt you, but that they had been hurting you, that they didn't think that much of you in the first place, and then to look back at every bit of effort you put in and see all of those red flags and see all of the shit and see like all of that stuff laid out, and to look at that time and like debate over whether it was a great learning lesson or did you just waste your fucking time. Like, was it something that fell in your lap that couldn't be trusted, like a too good to be true sort of thing. And I looked at my own situation. I thought too, like, I'm banking on people supporting me in ways that they've said that they would and have not so far done. And in a situation where I'm not appreciated for who I am, and like I saw that reflection, like the both of us, like in like crumbly tower situations, and it was like, well, I know if I was sitting in front of our therapist, if I told him that I just went off and did something to like, I don't know, like save my DM or like try to get back with us or do anything like that, he'd be disappointed in me. So it had to be something that I did for me. Because like for me, that's like an internal joke about like doing the emotionally secure thing. And our therapist is an Aquarius, so he typically he's extra lean in terms of like going towards the healthiest option, which I like, because in the past I have overcompensated going the other way and been far too emotional. As much as I didn't want to admit it, I made a lot more emotional based decisions and not logical ones, so I try to go for the balance. And I thought, you know what, I really do need to put myself first, and I want to have some fun, and I want to do stuff that makes me feel good in terms of work and social time and things like that. And I want to feel like I have inner peace in most all situations. And I realized that in order to have that inner peace, first I had to let out, well, my inner demons, you know what I mean? I had to let them come out and not be stuck in my craw and not be there. And then I realized when I knew what I wanted and needed was to be able to live authentically and to be able to live in my truth, to be able to feel like what I think in here, like I want to be able to comfortably say that out here. Like it's like the meme, it says, If everything you think about yourself and the rest of the world was tattooed on your body for a day, how would you feel about yourself? How would you feel like other people think about you, you know? And like, I want to feel like I'm the same in here as I am out here, and that, you know, I have people around me who like me for who I am. And part of who I am is that I fucking love my DM. Like, I don't even care what the dynamics are. We don't even have to talk for like years, whatever it is. I just love him, okay? He fascinates me. I don't like all the messes, but he does fascinate me. And he's my kid's dad. And that might not mean a whole lot to people anymore, because I've run into a number of people that are like, so, and I'm like, what? Like, is there nothing new? Like, to me, it matters. In any case. And I thought, well, what could I do? Like, if I'm seeing these timelines, where even in best case scenarios, the stability that we know as it is isn't going to be the same. It's like, well, the best thing I can do for both of us is to heal. Like, that's the best thing. And it leaned back into that selfishness. And the selfishness is like, I get to tell the truth. I get to speak up and say something about the way people are treating their kids, about the way people are treating each other. And I get to release all those shadows. And then I started to see that vision of like my DM in that sad space when he realizes he's been pirated. But I started to see a difference though on my side of it, rather than being in a space where I was also watching things crumble and just like letting it happen for fear of, can I do it on my own, stuff like that. That started to change into, ironically, the vision of the 100-acre Woods. It's not really 100, but it was his Winnie the Pooh joke towards me. Probably making fun of me a little bit, but our homestead, you know, our space, with everything we already talked about. We already talked about everything that we would want in it or on it, and what sort of space we'd want for what sort of opportunities and things like that. And I started to see myself there, you know what I mean? Like, and that was exciting. It was almost like, wow, if my imagination can already jump that far ahead, because I can think of so many things in the middle. like because I knew that there was definitely going to be reset, start over energy, especially if I spoke the truth. Because, well, for any of you that followed along, like, I was holding on to a lot of piratey, shadowy stuff that other people did, that a lot of them blamed either on me or used my name or image or likeness or behavior to get away with, or things like that, or took things of mine, used my business identity, like a lot of stuff like that. Like, it's not cool. A lot of bullying, a lot of cyberbullying, stuff like that. Just, there was a lot of things, you know, and I knew to speak it, like, one, the connections with any of those shadowy, piratey people, like, gone. Which, not a bad thing, right? Like, I'm not unhappy about that. I don't think any of you watching are unhappy about that. But, like, that, you know, a lot of those were family connections. I didn't know exactly how many ways that might affect, like, say, my sons. Especially because I feel like I felt like I was in a place where I was still trying to manifest a better outcome than what I feel like my heart knew was going to happen, which is that they just all cut it off. And, like, I didn't know how that would affect my kids. But I also know that, like, on the far end of things, that homestead end of things, like, not having those connections, that removes the cycles of that continuing. And that, I think, for my kids is much better than anything that could have been offered in trying to stick around, trying to play an endless, like, Jenga game where you're always knocking the tower over no matter how good you play, kind of thing. And so I moved towards that, right? And I just let myself speak it. And then, like, the vision started to change more of my DM. Like, it's funny that, what is that song? Turn around every now and then, feel a little bit stronger. I think that's how it goes. I don't know. Was it Turn Around Bright Eyes? Like, it started to be this thing of, like, if I heal, if I focus on my healing and I don't worry about what sorts of things it might or might not do for my Cabbit, because I knew it would probably do a whole ton of things, and I held a lot of this in because I didn't want to affect his reality. Like, I didn't mind, like, pirating the pirates, but I did not want to affect him in the ways that I knew that it would probably happen. But as a part of releasing codependence in that healing is like, I'm going to take care of me and the kids. I'm going to do that. So I just did. I just let myself. It's funny because, like, when I'm in that stage, I'm very bratty and very catty. And I just let myself have those ego moments that I usually hold in. I'm very self disciplined in holding in my ego stuff. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to trust spirit. And I'm going to have faith. I'm going to have faith in my DM, my Cabbit, that whatever shadow storms get kicked up that go his way, that he is either capable of not of holding a boundary of not interacting with anybody else that gets kicked in this verbally, or that he will be able to handle whatever lessons come back at him for me releasing all the ways that I got pulled in energetically and psychologically and physically by him and by others in there, that, like, I'm just going to have faith because that's something that I lacked. That's something that I lacked when we were together. Something we reflected, which is that I didn't have faith in myself and I didn't have faith in him, especially in emotional situations. And the rest has just been having faith in everything going on, in every moment in the past where I may have, like, taken action because it felt like a moment of, like, was it when you get those fight or flight moments? Or when you're really worried about somebody and you want to take action, in those moments stopping and going, where can I have faith here? Where can I have faith in the people, in spirit, in myself? Where can I have faith in this? And even when it feels like sometimes that I'm like, maybe I didn't make that decision so accurately, or pragmatically, or maybe I need to pivot it a little bit, I stop and I think, where can I have faith in what is happening right now? And that brought me a whole lot of faith in my DM. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to heal in what feels like the most natural way to heal. I'm going to pray. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to get myself right with me. And then the vision changed more. And I realized in my heart the whole time, in being selfish, like, I want my DM. I've always wanted him. I never sent him away because I didn't want him. He just had some things to work through in himself. And I saw that, and our therapist saw that. And I felt pushed into, like, if it wasn't everything that I wanted right now, that we needed to be separate. And, like, I mean, I'm not, what's funny is I was unhappy with that choice for a while. I'm really not unhappy with it now. Like, I like the way our story goes, and whatever it becomes. Like, you could be mad at me for the rest of this lifetime, and I'd still be happy with that. Like, I can't even explain it. Anyways, I started to realize, like, what was the thing? What was the thing that really made a difference for him the last time? I saw that expression on his face when he realized he'd been had. And by how many and how bad and shit like that. And it's funny because I can remember him telling me, so there was just certain times, and I didn't plan any of it then, just like now, like, but there were just certain times that I was there, and I cared. I cared, I didn't have an agenda other than that, Never needed his money. I've proven that, like, I prefer his physical presence, but I don't need it. But I always want him. I just always have. I don't know that maybe eventually, like, if it goes on years and years more, like, I'm not holding myself to him. I just know how I naturally feel. And it feels better to live in a way where I am able to just speak how I feel and go, you know what? I like me for this, right? But I thought about that and I was like, how many times has he told me, my own Cabbit told me, that it's just been those moments that I showed up or that I was still there or that I didn't leave in the first place. Things like that. And I thought, in just surrendering and doing my healing and having faith in him, in my heart, I did want some sort of way to help him. Everybody said that he was clearly showing all indicators that even if he wasn't conscious about it, he wanted me to rescue him. He wanted me to do the old cycle with him. And I didn't for a long fucking time. And I know that it really confused him because he looked at that as like a love language thing rather than that's not a healthy relationship behavior thing. And I'm just trying really hard not to do that right now. But, well, not actually right now, but that's what I mean. Like, there was the miscommunication in it and a lot of people telling him that I was trying to trick him, which is like, no, I'm trying to become a healthier person for myself mostly, but then also for our kids and for you. I'm trying to do what I asked you to do, kind of thing, like, but for me, because that's what I asked him to do. I asked him to do it for himself, to stop doing things just because other people told him to do it. Like, choose your own reason, make it a good big reason that motivates you, and do it for you, because it's sexy as fuck, it's healthy as fuck, and why not? Anyways, I realized that in not having a plan in it and just focusing on myself, Spirit showed me exactly how to also rescue without rescuing. It's kind of the both can be true kind of things. Because it would be unhealthy and it would be bad karma to go in and like actually try to do anything to like mess with the relationship or to try to like rescue him or do things like that. And he learns better when he has to clean up his own messes. We already established that years ago. I want to say like 10 years ago, I think is when we established it. Like I know he already asked me once, like, why do I let him get into some of the messes he gets into? And it's like, I always point out, one, I did say something. And then I say, well, you learn better when you do it, when you just do it. Like, sometimes I just have to stand out of the way and let you go learn what you need to learn through whatever thing you're going to do. But I realized if I was right, like if I was wrong about like the visions coming through and the stuff happening to him, and all the readers were wrong and all the signs, like if everything is wrong, because I'm very good at what I do and predicting what I predict. I would say like most of the things that I predicted, because I'm careful about what I predict, have lined up, have happened, right? And so if I was wrong, then worst case scenario, I just made a big fool out of myself for love of my man and my children, and I got to feel like I got to say everything that I wanted to say, and it wouldn't do anything otherwise other than let me heal, and everyone else would go back to what they've been doing, their weird little karmic cycles. They would all go back to that, but I would be able to be a better parent and better to myself. And like, what, my Cancer DM might be mad at me for a few years, like, we've been through that. like we have kids together and we always work through shit and he always figures things out and so do I. So like it was an emotional security thing on that. Like the worst case scenario is really not that horrible. But if it went the way that everything was showing it was going, especially with what everybody was saying that they were doing, everybody all at once trying to create all these towers for everybody else, like, then the best way to help would simply to do what I've always done, but a little more consciously, to still be there. Still be there. When the light switch comes on, when the truth is fully revealed, the dots are connected, the stitches are in, shit like that. And not to be arrogant or in I told you so energy or anything, just to be working on me. Working on me, working on the plan that I've had for a long, long time. Just doing my own glow up, you know? Like, no agendas, no anything, no, like, it has to be this or has to be that. Like, I mean, he's a good grudge holder. Like, it'll be a while, like, but I'm not worried about that, though. Like, I trust myself. I trust my intuition. I trust the cycles that other people go through, good and bad, light and dark, and things like that. And I know I'm already on a good path. I actually was thinking about doing a video just before this one that we actually have housing right now. I'm going to do a separate one about it. It's not perfect housing, it's kind of intermediate, but, you know, running water, bedroom for my son, safe place to be, good people to be around, good, you know, clear boundaries, kind of contracts worked out so that it's not quite so unstable, and it looks like I'll be able to save money, and that makes it easier to select a better job than the last one that I picked and to move forward and stuff like that. So I know, like, everything is going in a positive manner, and in many ways better than I had, not better than I'd imagined, because I like to imagine really big stuff, but like, it's been pleasant surprises, and I know that more are coming. And so, like, the vision then becomes like, however long it takes, like, I'm gonna keep working towards me stuff, like having fun and being a better and better mom, and like working on my personal, like, just my stuff. Like, I still have shadow stuff to work on, I still have adulting skills to build on, I still have ADHD stuff to work on and body stuff to work on with my arthritis. Like, I have plenty to do. You know what I mean? um and just exploring things that there are to explore in life. And I mean, you know what? Like, my oldest, Eamon, like, he's about to be 17 this month, and like, I look at it like, if I'm sure that I'll have more. I'm sure that he'll be around longer than just at 18, but just in case, like, if I have a year until he is a legal adult, like, I'm thinking about how many cool ways can we spend that? How many cool memories can we make? Like, relationships can wait. You know what I mean? Like, I got things to do, and I have important people in my life that, like, I can put that energy into. And then the timelines of the visions of my DM go from, like, him, like, getting smacked with the truth, and then, like, if I had done what everyone else had suggested I did, then he would have nobody, not his kids, not me. Like, they wanted me to take the kids and run, completely screw him over. Like, everybody wanted me to do this, and, like, just do everything possibly cruel to him that he was always afraid that people would do too, because it had been done. And I would just, like, it's like, no, no, fuck y'all. Like, no, how horrible and how horrifying that this comes from family and on all ends. Like, no. Because, and the vision changed from that, from like doing that sort of stuff as some sort of like manipulation tactic, or like I told you so thing, or I'm going to teach you a lesson thing. Like, that vision changed into, what if the vision is me on, well, my homestead, but I'm going to say our, because me and the kids at least, where we already agreed we're going to have all the same stuff that my DM would want there anyways. And if he never comes to use it, we will use it. Like, we had a big old plan for a huge garage that had a loft over the top and a urinal in it and a studio up there and like quad pits and things like that. And like, we're still going to use it. Like, it's not going to go to waste just because it's there. But what if? Like, you know, the vision's changing that. Like, I see many different things. I know my DM, and just the fact, like, no matter how mad at me he may be, just knowing that I care, that I was willing to make a big fool out of myself for him, because as much as he might not like to admit he likes to be that guy, he does like to be that guy. Just knowing that there's somebody who genuinely cares, who does not need him for his money or connections or any of that shit, who just likes him, loves him despite himself, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, the timeline does not automatically switch over to, oh my gosh, like, he wants to come back towards me, but it's the timeline of somebody gives a fuck about me enough to fight for me, enough to make me mad as all hell, to make me sad, to shove the truth right up in my face where I can't ignore it, Somebody cares. And there's timelines I've seen where he might then decide to finally go pursue his dream of being a musician. Maybe he goes on tour, maybe he does stuff like that, but just knowing that there's always somebody in the world who really loves him, that makes a difference to him. That is a real fucking thing for him. And I know him well enough to know that about him. And there's other timelines where, I mean, maybe things get better with the karmics. I will say my ego-y side, I'm hoping not, because I'm mad about the way that they've treated him and themselves, really. Like, come on. But either way, like, things get better because he knows that somebody out there really cares and that there's not strings attached to it. Well, at least no more than heartstrings, anyways. And the vision just felt better and better that way, so I just went with it. I just shared my feelings as they were. So I could heal, so I could feel later, so I didn't feel like I was being a coward about speaking up, about letting people be mad at me, about doing things on my own, about making mistakes. Which, ironically enough, my DM, my Cabbit, always said he always admired that I was willing to make mistakes. Especially when it came to, like, getting up and doing shows with music, but, like, any of it, whether it was doing jobs or stuff with him or other people, I'm willing to make mistakes. Can learn from mistakes. I like mistakes. Well, I would say, it's funny to say that I do like mistakes. It's like Bob Ross's happy accidents, but also there are some mistakes that it's like, ouch. But you know what? My thought was that you always learn something from mistakes, and I love learning. I just learned the other day that there's a Church of Latter-day Dude, like there's a literal one, and they base it off of oh man, why can't I remember the movie? It's one with the bowling movie and the guy with the long hair and the big belly, very laissez-faire about things. I don't know why I can't remember the name of it, but it was an interesting thing to learn, and to learn about some of their tenets. But as you can see, I love learning. And so yeah, like, whenever my Cabbit is on here watching these videos, because I could feel the timelines to where there's what is it, as Maverick revealed, I'd already learned it, and then she talked about it, and I was like, yay, thank you for the confirmation. It was all things they already have happened, they're getting ready to happen, and they will happen. Like, there's always that process, like, because time is not linear, so things are always happening. They've already happened, and they will happen. And so I know there's a point in time when he either has watched these videos, is watching these videos, or will watch these videos. If for no other reason than curiosity always got the cat, he is definitely the cat that curiosity got. That's the way I did it. I did it for my own healing, because I knew it would make a difference to me and to the kids, and that when those days hit, when the 360 cycle comes back around, and it becomes to the point where it cannot be ignored, and he needs the strength when you need the strength, dear Cabbit, to make a different decision in your life. You can't say that there ain't nobody in the world who don't give a fuck about you, because I do and your kids do. And that makes all the difference in the world sometimes. In a lot of people's lives. Sometimes just knowing that somebody would check on you, somebody gives a rat's ass about you, somebody would tell you there's a booger in your nose. Sometimes that makes all the difference in the world as to what you decide you're going to do next when you fall off the horse. Are you going to walk the horse for a while? Or are you going to get back on the horse? You're going to get a quad instead of a horse. Like, so many things that you can do. Well, y'all, I'm going to leave this love letters to Cabbit as it is. because there's other things I want to talk about too, like astrology. So I will see you in the next video.